Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. Trust the week's gone well. It's Friday after all. The FT has a super article about Abiy Ahmed saying he's Africa's new talisman. In this interview, he's surveying the 40-hectare plot in the center of Addis Ababa, and the FT is saying he is the most talked about leader on the continent. First one-on-one interview with the international media. He alternates between homespun prophet, hard man, and visionary leader. He mixes humor with a tactile arm grab worthy of LBJ. His sentences, delivered in proficient English, are laced with biblical references, big data, and Michael Jackson. If you change this, says Abiy, gesturing to the rubble-strewn compound and the rapidly changing skyline in the capital beyond, you can change Addis. If you can change Addis, definitely you can change Ethiopia. On his first day, he says, he ordered an overhaul of his office. In 2 months, what had been a dark and austere interior became a blindingly white luxury hotel-style affair, replete with wall-to-wall video conferencing screens, modern art, and sleek white rooms for cabinet meetings and visiting delegations. I want to make this office futuristic. Many Ethiopians see yesterday, I see tomorrow. This place has gone from hell to paradise. His first 10 months in office have been remarkable by the yardstick of any leader around the world. I'm not going to reiterate what he's done. He says the most unbelievable things, and then he ends up doing them, said Blen Sahilu, a lawyer and women's rights activist, referring partly to the unexpected peace treaty with Eritrea that brought an end to more than 20 years of military standoff. He said, I knew when they kept insulting me that I had won. I ignored it and wrote my acceptance speech. Then, talking about the coup attempt, I showed them I was a soldier, he recalls. I told them if something wrong happens, you can't kill me before I kill 5 or 6 of you. He followed up with a macho burst of press-ups. Inside an hour, the incipient coup was over. The Prime Minister professes to be unfazed by the forces he has unleashed. Yesterday, they were on the streets of Mekelle insulting me, referring to the Tigrayan capital, but I love that. That is democracy. Economically, we're making big change, but the backlog is killing us. Today, the debt is up to here, he says, gesturing to his neck. He has, he says, eased that situation by renegotiating commercial debt to concessional terms with China and others, and by tapping states in the Gulf and the Middle East for loans and investment. Here too there are risks. I need to realize the privatization with zero corruption, he says, adding that people who have stashed money abroad want to launder it back into the country. The biggest challenge for Abiy is not politics, it's jobs, says Zemedene Negatu, an Ethiopian banker. Still, another voice tells him that he has a once-in-a-generation opportunity to etch his name in Ethiopian history. I will be popular if I lift 60 to 70 million people out of poverty, he says. If I do that, whether I like it or not, you will magnify my name. I wrote about him on the 2nd of July last year, and I called him a Virillian and Gladwellian figure. To create one contagious movement, you often have to create many small movements first. Look at the world around you. It may seem like an immovable, implacable place. It is not. With the slightest push in just the right place, it can be tipped, said Gladwell. He has been Prime Minister for 90 days. During those 90 days, he crisscrossed the country, ended a state of emergency, released thousands of political prisoners, thawed relations with Eritrea, bagged $1 billion from the UAE, announced a dramatic economic about turn. In matters language and linguistics, he has tapped into a Nelson Mandela 1994 mood. These 90 or so days represent the most consequential arrival of an African politician on the African stage since Mandela walked out of prison, blinking in the sunlight, and constructed his rainbow nation. I said then it's all about speed and velocity. Virilio terms it dramology, which he defined as the science or logic of speed. I was watching the France-Argentina game and the arrival of Kylian Mbappe on the world stage at the tender age of 19. I recall watching the whirling dervishes of the Mevlevi order on a night of a full moon in Konya. I thought what they all have in common with Abiy Ahmed, it's all about speed and velocity. Whoever controls the territory possesses it. Possession of territory is not primarily about laws and contracts, but first and foremost a matter of movement and circulation. Then he spoke about the debt in July last year. He says we can't pay it back, and that's when he began his economic pivot. And on the 11th of February, I was looking for the African vision thing, and I said to myself, it's only Abiy and maybe Kagame who appear to be sketching out a new African political horizon. Zimbabwe Says Exchange Rate is to strengthen as the peg is abandoned. Tendai Biti pours cold water on that and says the RTGS dollar will trade at between 6 and 8. He said the country's fundamentals won't support a new currency because there are no reserves to back it up, no market confidence and no macroeconomic stability. Biti estimates that the RTGS dollar will trade at between 6 and 8 to the US dollar. 8th of October, I called the government's economics program voodoo economics. 21st of January, I said the mind game that ZANU-PF had played on its citizens has evaporated in a puff of smoke. And then in an article in Bloomberg, I see the fact that officials finally came to their senses and ditched the notion that Zimbabwe's quasi-currency was at par with the US dollar is comforting. Quite sad when you're comforted by policymakers understanding reality. From 5% growth to a $4.9 billion bailout, what went wrong? This is Bloomberg about South Africa. We are paying for the past, the 9 years of waste, said Colin Coleman of Goldman Sachs. South Africans are going to pay for that for generations to come. I, however, have got to praise Tito Mboweni. He's always stimulating, and he trapped all the shorts on Wednesday. It really was a lot of finesse. And I recall what happened another day, an eon ago, when he was appointed as central bank governor. But this on Wednesday was virtuoso stuff, played a difficult hand with a great deal of accomplishment. South African all shares up 5.21% this year, dollar versus rand 13.9738, back below 14. This is crazy. Nearly 20% of tweets about Nigerian politics are from bots and fake accounts, according to new research. Soon Twitter will just be robots fighting amongst themselves, Mail and Guardian. My article last weekend was about Nigeria. Nigeria decides. I was talking about the size of the election, the surreal nature of some of the narrative strands that have come out from Nigerian politics. And I concluded by saying change is inevitable, but not just yet. Nigerian all shares up 3.62% year to date. It is like picking up pennies in front of a steamroller. You pick up a lot of pennies, but the losses are huge if the steamroller gets you. This is Nigerian markets. Have a look at the rates for Naira-denominated government bonds, and you will see hard currency bonds have actually outperformed its peers. This is a deeply unloved market, whether measured by overall market volumes, foreign participation valuation relative to history, or performance versus frontier or oil exporter peers. That level of despair usually means opportunity. Ghana Stock Exchange is down 2.88% year to date.